And as such, welcome everyone to the Deep Funding Town Hall, the place where the deep funding community gathers to discuss deep funding. And today, of course, we have the typical agenda, the great moment we all wait for, an explanation, very short and brief explanation of what is deep funding. But then we have finally some very interesting topics with an upcoming RFP on reputation and voting weight system that Joanna from Photrek will tell us a little bit about. We have some updates on documentation work group from Anthony Olico. Great to have a work group coming here and sharing a little bit of what they're doing. We have the BGI NEXUS deep funding round presentation by Lilu and Esther. And we have some updates on deep funding to wrap it up. So a packed agenda, hopefully, and a very interesting one. And for those of you watching this for the first time or still not clear about what is deep funding, we have here a very small, simple, and incomplete definition, and you'll see how incomplete it is as you start getting into the community and understanding what it is all about. But deep funding is basically a decentralized grants program, and we are tasked to fund projects and initiatives that are beneficial to SingularityNet, to the AI marketplace we have, and that follow the big mission of SingularityNet of creating a democratic, decentralized, and beneficial artificial general intelligence. And if you want to be part of the community, or if you already are, we like an environment with space for creativity, to be open with each other and honest, to collaborate, and of course, be kind as well to each other. This is really important. And if you think these principles are important as well, join us. You're a perfect fit. And what's important to know about deep funding is it's becoming increasingly more decentralized and a community-run program, basically. And the community plays a big role. You guys can vote on the best proposals for this common goal we have. You can propose on what you think is necessary and beneficial to SingularityNet, to the marketplace. You can also review these proposals, give comments, become an expert reviewer, and just improve the process of getting even better proposals each round. You can be part of the discussions of the next steps for this operation, this deep funding, this decentralized grants program in things like this town hall, but also through other means like participating in circles. Circles are basically helping a lot, I would say, running the deep funding operations in several different areas. We have circles like marketing, events, operations, dev outreach. So a lot of circles, and you can check them all out in the community website and maybe even consider applying. But I'll leave that for later. For now, what's important to know is this moment, this activity here is for you, is the place where we gather together as community members. And if you're new, welcome to the community. And of course, we discuss everything related to deep funding. It's a great place to learn, ask questions. You can unmute yourself and talk a little bit with us if you have anything you would like to ask. And of course, as I was mentioning, if you want to connect and stay on top of everything that's happening with the deep funding community, you have here the community portal or community website, whatever you want to call it. You can scan it, and there you can see the circles we have, what they are doing. You can also maybe apply to a circle if you feel you want to be part of this community and contribute more actively to the operations of deep funding. You can also see the events we are running and even apply to come here and present or host after town hall, whatever you want to do about any topic you think is relevant. So yeah, hopefully take a look at it. It's a really interesting website and a really interesting app. And of course, here you can see as well the process to present. And we are actually waiting on you to present. Please just go to the community website and apply to have a little slot to talk here. Uh, Finally, this is not it, but one important thing maybe before we start and and before we move forward is to talk about the deep funding community hubs. This is a live RFP, request for proposal, just for context in case nobody knows it, because I I was aware lately that sometimes we say RFP and we all know it, but if you're a newcomer, it might be weird to know to hear this word. So, but this is basically we open an opportunity for people to propose. We'll tell you exactly what we need, and you can follow the guidelines and come up with your own proposal, your own ideas, and your own strategy to fulfill these requirements. And we have right now RFP for community hubs, which is basically to create a community in a topic of your interest, a topic you're passionate about, and somehow connect it to deep funding and help decentralize deep funding and go deep funding even further. So take a look. We already have 4 proposals right now, and hopefully we'll have even more. And if you're interested and you have ideas, yeah, I would love to see what are your ideas and what you would like to do. With that being said, and that part already completed, I think it's important to move forward and to move forward to what matters, that is the presentations. And Joanna, are you available to start with the RFP?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
I do not have a presentation. I should have. I apologize. But what I could do is maybe open the RFP itself on the Deep Funding website. And then I can just maybe give um, a little bit of a brief on what this RFP is about and just some background and context for those of you that aren't familiar with this. So, um, we've been working really closely with Deep Funding and Yawn on this concept of reputation and a voting weight system. And it started almost over 2 years ago now, when we were funded the first proposal to help streamline how contribution scores or reputation scores, and we're still, I guess, finalizing what to call it. And so we initially built out a proof of concept to automate how those scores were calculated. That developed into like an MVP where we built out a tool that was used to calculate the results for the previous round. And this is all very internal to the data that's captured within Deep Funding. So from the proposal portal and the voting portal. But the initial goal of all of this was to develop this into a very modular system that's able to capture data points from multiple services, and then configure those into a score. And that's really what this RFP is about. And it outlines kind of requirements for how to build out that system or what is required for it. It does seem pretty ambitious, I think, but I think it's definitely doable. And so the main concept is to have this modular architecture that different microservices can plug into, and then a UI layer where you can configure scores based on all the outputs from these microservices. So each microservice could have its own kind of algorithms for how it outputs certain data points or scores. For example, if there's a blockchain explorer that listens in and captures financial transactions or transaction patterns for wallets to do with AGIX, and outputs data points based on certain algorithms to calculate voting patterns in the previous X amount of months or something. That could be a data point that's very interesting for a reputation score or a voting weight. Same with how contribution is captured on the proposal portal, where, if you're commenting, if you're engaging, if you're reviewing certain proposals, all of that data is captured. And then even maybe your patterns on social media, and many various things that we probably haven't really thought about just yet. So the RFP's main goal is to output the architecture for this. So what's the architecture for such a system? What does it look like? And then also just an initial suite of microservices that would include that like blockchain system that I talked about. And then also like, how do you position it in a sense that all these microservices are independent. So using like stateless APIs, for example, and like standardized APIs in general for the entire system. And then lastly, like a user interface. So the goal, like I mentioned, would be to either configure the score based on adding weights to different outputs based on different microservices, viewing the scores, outputting them into different formats maybe, and then obviously things like maybe blacklisting certain users or whatnot. And so the RFP itself is segmented into must-haves, should-haves, and could-haves. And then also just nice to haves or, things that would be really interesting to explore. And then another main requirement is for the system to integrate into whatever identity layer that will be designed. And right now it is the wallet linking tool. So for those of you as well that aren't familiar, within Deep Funding, there's a tool called Vault. And what that tool does is it allows community members to link all of their various wallet addresses into one output. And that's the output that's kind of like represents their identity within this system. And there's another RFP that we've been working on, which is a research RFP. And this is primarily focused on researching different solutions to capture identity in a unified way because, most of us identify ourselves within many different solutions. But how do we make sure that within this system, it's all mapped to one unique person? And that is the person that the score is outputted for. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't know if anyone got the chance to go through the RFP. It is still pending, so it's obviously still being reviewed and feedback is being incorporated. But this is kind of the outcome of like the many years and discussions and requirements gathering within Deep Funding and SNET and whatnot. And I guess this is the next evolution for such a system. Yeah, I see Tommy, you have your hand up. Is it okay, Rafael, if we take questions?
Yeah, of course. Feel free. Continue.
Hey, great presentation, and certainly a tool that can be very useful in this whole ecosystem. I caught one thing that or it caught my attention, and you mentioned blacklisting, and I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that. Is that how would you blacklist someone, and is that a form of censorship? And three, how would that work in our march towards decentralization?
That's a very good question. And again, I think it's important for a system to have the functionality to prevent malicious users. How that is done or the mechanisms for how that's done is obviously, I guess, depending on legal and depending on the person that's going to be or the ecosystem that's going to be using the system. But yeah, I mean, it's a part of the requirements to allow such functionality in the case that it's required either for legal purposes or for whatever reasons. Maybe there is, a wallet that's been recurringly doing malicious behavior within the ecosystem and it's being identified. So there should be a way for it not to be incorporated. But how that goes about goes back to the governance of the ecosystem that's using this system, really. We just want to have that functionality embedded into the system in the case that it's required.
All right. Tommy, I think that answered your question. Hopefully. Uh, yeah, I see you unmuted. All right. All good. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Joanna. I don't know if you mentioned, but I didn't notice. Do you have a provision for when you think the RFP will be ready to go live, or is it still a bit of a work in progress?
It's kind of like out of Photrek's hands right now because we've submitted it and it's gotten approved as a milestone. So it's pending on the platform. I think there's still some feedback and reviews that are waiting to happen. But yeah, I mean, we're constantly like this is a work in progress. We're constantly in conversation about what needs to be done. Like I said, this is a very ambitious system. Sometimes I'm just like, do I even understand what's going on? But yeah, no, it's great. But hopefully it goes live soon and then yeah, proposals could be submitted for it.
Yeah, but it's definitely important, I think. Reputation, especially for governance and everything, I think is very important. We need to track the efforts of people, their actions, what they've done, and also because that gives you more information than, for example, just holding a token, I believe, what you actually, the effort and time you put in, because tokens don't mean much. It depends on your circumstances, while effort, it's limited for everyone, as well as time. So definitely great to have that.
Yeah, and just on based on that comment, I think that's why, like, if anyone's interested in putting in a proposal, a good way to think about it is like the modularity of this system, because it's really meant to fit for more than one kind of ecosystem and use case. And by doing that, you're really embedding the kind of privacy preserving mechanisms right into the design, which is really important. But that's what makes it kind of more complicated than to just make it a centralized kind of solution for just deep funding or whatever other ecosystem or product. Rafael?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joanna, for your explanation. Very good. And one thing that caught my attention since the first time we talked about is the microservice and modularity of this reputation system, right? This is indeed really interesting because reputation comes from a lot of input from a lot of possibilities. For instance, one possibility is the one that we are doing here. So people that attend meetings would eventually increase their reputation because they are attending, they are learning from deep funding and hearing its peers and so on, so on, so on. Also, for instance, and this is under its ongoing research yet, so don't take this to your heart, but we are also in discussions with some sort of AI system that can helps us to review proposals and projects. And one of the features of this would be exactly to have AI also assessing potential experts regarding their reputation and their expert background in a more seamless way. So we would also bring this into from someone that potentially never were or a part of the community. So how would we know about the reputation of this person? So we also can connect this AI feature into it. And my question goes in this way. It's very important. And again, for me, this was the most important thing in your project. But who is going to be the owner of this solution in the sense of how, if I have an idea, I am a community member, and I have an idea to track and bring more reputation to members. Should I talk to whoever developed it? It's going to be deep funding on it, and we have to have technical skills to integrate this. It's going to be an API that anyone can integrate. How is this going to be? How easy and frictionless this will be in this sense?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And I think through the requirement of having really clear API standards for integration, I think that's really important for whoever will develop this, is to make it as easy as possible to integrate into this. The question of who owns this and who runs it, and I think that's a more complicated question, and I think we've really been also thinking about it. It is open source, really, but so anyone that wants to use it for their own kind of ecosystem or use case could run it and do it. But then also we are now working on our last milestone, which is recommendations and kind of roadmap. Having been working on this closely with Jan for a while, obviously there's still a lot of ideas, and the one thing that I was thinking about as well is, what's really the incentive behind wanting to integrate into the system and provide the data that you capture as a microservice. That's something to think about. But then also, yeah, like what are the, I guess, guardrails against anyone integrating into it, any service provide. So I think these are kind of some questions that once we have the architecture and the APIs and all of that built out, we'd have a clear idea on, how it'll evolve. I think this is a kind of like a continuous exploration, let's put it that way. So yeah, I don't know if I answered you exactly, but I'm hoping that while this is being developed, that the APIs for how you could integrate in such a system will be very, very seamless.
Yeah, definitely good talks from now on about this as well for us to understand the governance of the tool and et cetera, et cetera. It's also important along with the technical development, definitely. Thank you.
Jan?
Tommy has his hand up also. I'm not sure if he's still up or again up, but let me so on that topic of things. So first of all, it would follow the general principle going from experimentation to consolidation to governance. So I think the platform currently is somewhere between experimentation and consolidation. We're still heavily developing it. If we have finished more or less the important things of development, we can let it run for a while, see what happens, see if other organizations want to use it. And then at some point, it should go into a governance state where it's governed by some kind of entity, and any new improvement would need to go through that governance thing. Now, in deep funding, we are already doing that with the deep funding rounds, for instance. They're somewhere maybe they're somewhere between consolidation and going towards governance already. So Rafael is now fully controlling it. The focus group is getting a role in overseeing it already, and we will see that continued. As for the reputation platform, I imagine I hope it will have wider adoption than just deep funding or SingularityNET. So I see an opportunity here to create a kind of DAO around it, of users of the system who will be in there, if it will be any user or any representatives of the organizations that actually use it, for instance. And maybe we could organize that in a DAO-like way. I think we're at least a year away from that. But yeah, I think it would be a nice perspective. That would also make it more acceptable, I think, for other entities to use it that have no relation with deep funding or SingularityNET.
Yeah, I remember in one of our workshops that we had, either about the system or about a reputation token or something, we had some legal advisors coming from Storm, and they kind of recommended a similar approach, even just in terms of, how long should data be available, who gets to revoke it, like all of these more high level governance questions and implementations. So yeah, I definitely remember that being an interesting conversation, and there being some legal structures that would support such initiatives. So I think that's definitely something to explore. It would be very interesting.
All right. Any more questions? Any more remarks? Well, I guess not. If you want, you can always unmute and just take the show, I guess. Well, thank you so much, Joanna, for this, and it's been great to see it as well, because we've accompanied here through the town hall all the work you've done, even discussions you brought about this topic here to the town hall and to the community, and now it's an RFP, and hopefully in the future it will be a created platform with a lot of services and really helping a lot of different projects, including deep funding. So yeah. Congratulations, and excited to see the RFP live and hopefully some great proposals there. All right. So now let's move forward to the documentation work group. And we have here Anthony. Welcome, Anthony. Please share with us some more about the work you've been doing lately.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Basically, I'm here to give a quick update on what the documentation work group has been up to, what we are working on, and how we are planning to help everyone here, basically. So a quick look back. Let me just start with a bit of background. The documentation work group was set up to solve a big problem. That's making sure each circle has easy to use documentation about their processes, roles, and responsibilities. That's each circle, deep funding circle. Then of recent, Rafael suggested we take up an even bigger challenge. That's documenting the backend systems that power everything that we do. This includes things like the community portal, the main website, proposal submission to operation systems, even the wallets, like that's the wallet linking to that Joanna just mentioned. That's also an example of the backend systems we hope to look into also. And we agreed to take up that extra challenge because it aligns with our mission. But we're also being realistic about what's needed to make it work. So I just want to start with why documentation matters. For circles, first of all, documentation really helps in onboarding new members quickly. It keeps everyone on the same page and ensures our processes are consistent and smooth. That's for the circles. Then for the backend systems, clear documentation means fewer headaches when using or fixing the tool or the process. And it also helps prevent knowledge loss when someone leaves or takes a new role. When either someone leaves a circle or leaves a job or a role, if the backend systems are properly documented, it just fewer headaches. So at the end of the day, quick documentation saves time, reduces stress, just makes everyone's job easier, basically. So what we're doing, okay, here's what we're currently working on right now. So one is circle documentation. We're talking with circle members, circle leads to figure out their needs and unique processes of each circle. Then we're also drafting guidelines so the circles can keep their documentation updated on their own. Then when it comes to the backend systems, this is a little bit new for us, but we are excited to get started. We are going to work with developers, operators, maintainers, the stakeholders basically of these systems to create guides, FAQs, troubleshooting and resources. We just basically want to make these tools accessible to everyone, even if you're not super tech savvy, just so that you just have a resource to quickly understand what is going on with respect to either a circle or a tool or a process in the community. Then building the right tools. We are using purely open source tools, available tools like MKDocs, Gitbook, or whatever the backend system operator, the developer, or the maintainer suggests. Also, it's very fluid. Also, just to make it easy to create, easy to navigate documentation that anyone can update. We're also setting up feedback loops so the documentation stays accurate and useful over time. So how can you help? Yeah, exactly. So to make this successful, we really need everybody to be on board because it's very obvious that documentation is not really priority right now for circle members or backend processes and everything. That's why we're here basically. But if you are part of a circle or you work with a backend system, our team, as team members from this documentation work group, will be reaching out to you. We will ask about your processes, your challenges, what kind of documentation will help you the most. And it's the most important people basically are you guys, are the community members, the circle members, the people that use these tools, the community tools that make everything work. So it's the only way we can make sure the resources work for you. If we receive your input. So what's next? So far we've made progress, considerable progress. The team is in sync and we have what we're currently working on. But over the next few months, starting February, very soon, we want to start a pilot system. We'll pick one circle and one backend system, the community portal. And for the circle, we'll most likely be going with let me check here. That's the review circle. They've really been active. We sent out a spreadsheet just to a spreadsheet where you list out your existing documentation, the processes you need to be documented, and just any comments you have basically to help us do better. So the the review circle has been very active, so we'll most likely use them as a pilot circle to like start with. Then we'll pick a backend system also to use that as a pilot system to start with. So during all these processes, we plan to like gather feedback and refine the approach. And we'll keep reaching out to everybody, to teams, to learn about their needs and unique use cases. Some people might need their documentation to be private, some might need it to be public, like the different use cases and everything. So then like that's just like during our meetings, we realized that we need to like sensitize the community on what is going on because we really, really need input, like help. We need you guys to like help us along the way. So that's why this whole thing was set up so that we can just sensitize you guys about what is going to be happening in this coming few months. Members of the work group are going to reach out personally to Circle team leads, to members, to developers, to maintainers of processes of tools, to like get your unique use cases and see how we can help you better. So that's why we asked to have a slot at this town hall to basically let you guys know what we are doing and not to be surprised when we start putting pressure. Yeah, so that's it basically. Thank you for giving me this time. We're really excited about the work we're doing and the impact it will have on the community. If you have any ideas, questions, or you just want to chat about documentation, feel free to reach out. We need extra hands. Yeah, we need extra hands. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the team. Like documentation will really help all of us. It's not just specific people, it's for everybody. So yeah, thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony. If anybody has a question or remark, please go ahead. And congratulations as well for the work. Like it seems like you guys have a lot of work and it's
Yes.
really important work. And it's the kind of work that people usually don't like to do, but that is useful to everyone. So
Yeah.
on that sense, thank you so much for taking on this responsibility. And yeah, it's definitely important in a decentralized ecosystem, important for onboarding and to try in some way make sure that the knowledge stays within the organization and that is accessible to people coming, to new people coming, right? I guess we have
Yeah.
Jan and Rafael. Jan, please, you raised your hand first.
Yay. Well, first of all, I want to underline everything you said. I think it's a wonderful initiative. Anthony, I remember the first time you brought something up about MD files, and very honestly, my first reaction then was, do we really need another system for documentation? This is so tiring. But I'm a total comfort and it works out perfectly. I think it's a great system, but I think what you're building around that system is even better with a work group of people that are enthusiastic and try and working on the process and then reaching out. I think this is another step towards maturity of our program. And it's an important one. And I'm so glad that people just spontaneously step up to that challenge and start doing it. That is actually a very good example, which what we would like to see more in this program. If you have a great idea, maybe even if I say it first time, convince me and convince Rafael and all of us and start doing it. And yeah, great work. I have one question. I'm not sure if this should be asked in the town hall, to be honest, but I'll do it anyway. Often in documentation, the biggest challenge is not creating it, but maintaining it, right?
Yeah.
So how do you see this going forward? And you're now a work group, and the definition of a work group is that it is somehow time restricted, as opposed to a circle that is ongoing. So how do you see this evolve?
User guides and manuals, even video. But to really solve the problem of
Anthony, I believe you are cutting perhaps connection. Not sure if only for me.
Yes,
Me too.
for me as well.
we want to make the process as okay. Can you hear me now? Normal user guides, video guides, and just text-based systems, video-based systems. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
Now, yes, it got much better.
Okay, but to really solve the problem of updating the resource, making it up to date, you need to like make it as easy as possible for members to update that resource. That was basically like the two sides of the whole thing. Some people are like, okay, creating it is good, but how do we steadily update it? So I've been looking at it like building a tool, basically, just building a tool to update Markdown files because everything will be based on Markdown files. So a very simple tool, probably assisted by an LLM, such that you can just go, either it is getting the information from somewhere, like a meeting like this, like the town hall meeting, or you manually update it yourself. Then the process will then update the on the resource, on the documentation resource. While working towards building a tool, that's the first way I think we should go about it, building a tool for that. Then you're correct, it's a long-term goal. Like there's really a lot of work cut out, and it's almost like out of the scope of a work group. So it's a long-term goal, and we are yet to really know how it will evolve, but we know it is going to. We plan to like make
Cutting again,
make
Lico.
it easier by building a tool that will help maintain the system so that we can. Okay, sorry.
Now it's
We
better.
basically want to build it because if we don't have that tool, it means we have to be here.
Now it's worse again, Anthony.
Can you hear me now?
Try to turn off the video to see if it helps.
Yeah,
Okay,
perhaps without the video, yes.
okay. So we want to like build a tool.
Or not.
I guess
Help
we need
people.
to
If we are
imagine
not able
what
to
your
build that
answer
kind of tool,
is.
it simply means that we will have to be. How about now? Yeah. So okay. It's how about now?
It's good sometimes.
How about
Maybe
now?
you can just type the response. Everybody will read it in the chat.
Yeah, perhaps.
Good idea, Ubio.
Let me add a little bit to this, what you're saying about updating. We should brainstorm a little bit on how we can best keep it updated. Maybe make some kind of Wikipedia kind of system where people can propose changes and other people govern it. I once had this idea of putting this kind of content in a knowledge graph. We can still do that, by the way, and then have a system of flagging it on one hand and a system of people who would be paid to make small updates on the other hand. Maybe that's over-engineering it. Maybe we can do it simpler. But yeah, the first step is building it and creating it. And well, actually, the first step is starting it. And yeah, I'm really happy with this initiative. So thank you, Anthony, and everybody else in that work group.
Yeah. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better.
The envision it's
Well,
going to be a long-term process, basically. Long-term, where we have to manually doing the work. Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Envision it's going
It's
going
robot
to,
Olico, but yes.
okay. It's going to be a long.
Anthony, your network only allows us to hear when you ask us if we can hear you.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
if I may, Ian, we have to stop being that aligned. You completely said exactly about the work group, how it's for a certain time frame, and how we have to go on with this. This is just the first step, and we still have a lot ahead. Also, I am with Anthony here. I was lunching today, and I was working on this document, and I said, yeah, we need to find a way to keep things updated. So yeah, let's use again, like we are doing the AI reviewer. We could also work, and then Anthony came. You also had give this suggestion of knowledge graphs and etc. So I see this as a very promising thing. And as a work group is, it's for a end-to-end project, we might, it's not that it's something certain because we are putting the structure together yet on the creation of a new circle. I see the potential for a circle in this because we really need to have this ongoing process. And from the beginning of my role here, I have been trying to create this structure of information for people to understand what's going on. I guess my first week here, I had Esther was there, Peter was there as well, and I mentioned about the Wikipedia. I started a channel in the Slack yet, which was Deep Funding Wikipedia, for us to do exactly something like this and being able to concentrate single source of truth of everything that we have to know, because this parallel control and parallel input of information always bring confusion and mistakes for sure. So this is very important. And I have to say 1 year later, or more than a year, I had that in my mind, and then Olico appears to me and say, hey, I am working on this because I am delivering my project, and I am using this. So I was thinking, if we can't use here, yay! Now I have some ones, right, to go for, because myself only to go and take this and do it's not only not efficient, I would say even not possible because of the rest of the operations. So yes, thank you very much, Olico. Thank you for the whole big documentation work group. I've been seeing the documentation that you create or generate from your calls, for instance, and that's already proof that you are going to deliver a great work, because in-house you are doing a great work as well within the work group. So good indicator. Next steps, it's to finish this, of course, what we are doing, and then we can, but when doing this planning, you can perhaps also think further what's going to happen next. As Jan mentioned it, we are creating, but we have to maintain as well. So AI processes or etc. You can also already envision something in that direction for us to discuss. And yeah, very, very good. Thank you. Much important.
All right. Thank you, Rafael. Ayo, you want to say something as well?
Yeah, very quickly. But I was afraid my network may behave like Anthony's network. So I wasn't particularly very confident to go for it. Yesterday at the half-yearly report, Ian mentioned something about how the community is growing, how we are maturing, and that's true. And because you can look at it from, say, for example, in some perspective, valid perspective, how dev outreach, event circle, market circle are all outreach and marketing circles, right? Now, data analytics had to start from within operations circle, right? And then, so if you think about operations circle and you think about data analytics, and then you imagine documentation cycle, for example, right? It could start to look like a process super cycle, right? So and you see how the possibility of how all of these things go together, especially considering now that the documentation work group is trying to create something not just for the cycles, but also something for backend systems of the community. And so it looks to me like this is quite an interesting. I'm very excited and hopeful to see how this will unfold. But whichever way, I think is going to be quite interesting. Thank you very much, Anthony. Good work.
All right. Thank you, Ayo. Thank you as well, Anthony. Also, check Clement. He seems to be interested in the working group, so definitely already got at least a follow-up to do from this presentation. So thank you for coming here and sharing it with us and sharing your work and also the next steps. And now let's move forward to the BGI NEXUS round. And first, I've heard that Rafael wants to say a few words and give some context. Rafael, please.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Just a minute, Esther, please, just to give the context before you jump in and do your amazing presentation. Well, we are going to talk now about the BGI NEXUS round. And for many, it's important to understand there is a difference in between the regular rounds that we have now and this new framework that we are building and kind of testing now with the BGI NEXUS group. The idea is to amplify or to expand the scope of formats that we have for funding, right? We already have the rounds, then it appears the RFPs. We also are working with hackathons, which is also some sort of funding that we can consider. And one format that is being developed now and we are embedding in our portfolio of funding, is this partnership or third-party rounds, right? Of course, BGI NEXUS comes from SNET, SingularityNET itself, but it's a good testing for us as well as Deep Funding to understand the nuances that will happen in and differences in between what we have, which we kind of take the lead and do everything from rules, execution, contracts, voting system, and etc., and having another entity telling us and using our platform, using our infrastructure to deliver what they need, right? So that's what's happening here. We have a third party using Deep Funding infrastructure to create and to manage as well their grants program. In this sense, we are, myself, Esther, Jan, Haley, also Lilo, we are discussing with SNET as well the points of decision for it. So I invited Esther here to talk about what a BGI round will be from the perspective of BGI. And further down the road, we are going to also discuss our role, Deep Funding role into this, the operations, the execution, as you know, submission of proposals, reviews, and etc., okay? So yeah, without further delong, please, Esther, I was just willing to give this perspective of there is a difference. Third-party round and regular rounds, which you are used to.
Yeah. So please, Esther, Lilo, Jan, were you going to say something?
No, why do you think so? I was accidentally not unmuted, but I'll fix that right now.
All right. So please, Esther, Lilo, would love to hear from you and from BGI NEXUS.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us here and thank you for that introduction, Rafael. BGI NEXUS growing well when I was looking at your process and all of the different decisions and the different processes that you've built over the course of the last few years. I mean, approaching it from a grant perspective, actually thinking about creating a grant has given me a much deeper appreciation for the incredible work that you've been doing here, because once you start to think through the steps of what needs to be done in a round, the work is enormous, and every small detail, of course, needs to be accounted for. So I've been so impressed digging into the details. Of course, I've been aware a bit of the process so far because I'm kind of loosely connected with Deep Funding, but my appreciation is deepening every time I have interactions with the Deep Funding program, and especially now. Regarding the BGI NEXUS project, maybe it would be a good idea if I gave a kind of recap for those who've seen it, and a small introduction for people who've never really encountered the NEXUS project before. Is it okay for me to share? Do I have permission to share?
Yes, you should ask. I gave you permission.
Is that working? Can people see that?
Yes, working
Okay, great. So the BGI NEXUS project, Beneficial General Intelligence Nexus, which we hope is going to become a way for resources and knowledge to come together to further the mission of creating beneficial AGI. I'm not going to just read out the slides, but effectively we're doing various different things, and it's all coming together in this one nexus. We are gathering and promoting human values on safety and ethics. So there is a kind of sense-making component to BGI where we're doing interviews and data collection, which I'll go into in a minute. And we're providing means for people to contribute in whatever way they can. So that could be resources, or it could be participation or community engagement. Towards creating beneficial AI and AGI and other technologies. So the key elements of the NEXUS project are the resourcing scheme for projects contributing to BGI. So this could be grant program, which we're hoping to pilot now, and channels for people to donate resources to. For example, if people are looking for beneficial projects to donate funding to, then the BGI NEXUS is an ideal site for that to happen. And so the funding scheme is the natural conclusion of the donation scheme. So once we have donations, then we're able to fund projects. And then our research arm is about creating sense-making on human values on AI technologies and the future of AI, safety and ethics, and so on, in order to inform where our projects are going. So this research forms the bedrock of what we are aiming towards by funding these projects. And that includes human conversations, so research and surveys and direct conversations, face-to-face recorded conversations with people. And eventually there's going to be a human AI component that is a chatbot that gathers human values on AI safety and ethics. And then eventually we'd like to create a collective decision-making process so that we're not the ones who are just deciding where the funding is going. It's based on that collection of human values. It's based on the community engagement. So it's a truly collective and democratic decision-making. And of course, we want to align with other organizations who uphold the BGI mission, because we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. So there are, of course, other places that are doing beneficial donation schemes, and there are other organizations that are doing collective sense making, and we'd like to just bring all of that together in one place and create a place of sharing with not just with individuals, but with organizations as well. Our research arm is about doing interviews and questionnaires, like I said, and the interviewer, and eventually the resource will become a knowledge graph and a commons-based knowledge resource. Right now, the research is situated primarily in the Ambassador program. So the AI ethics work group in the Ambassador program is helping to do our research in this part of the program, and they've successfully collected a number of interviews, and they're helping us now with survey distribution. And then the way that we're hoping to mobilize the community is to contribute values and make decisions about funding, and of course, like I said, donate and share resources. And we want to provide spaces for those decisions to take place. But these are still elements that are gathering. And our future vision is to bring all of these channels together and create a formal system of resource sharing. So collecting donations, creating a distribution system, creating a coordination system, and creating a community gathering point for the discussions. So all of these work together in order to produce a kind of comprehensive gathering and distribution system for resources and human values. And that's where it gets concrete. The first experiment that we would like to do is a test grant round. So the first BGI funding round is going to be a lightning grant round, by which I mean it's going to be a bit compressed. The timeline is somewhat shortened, as I understand it, from your usual deep funding grant rounds. And we're hoping to solicit AI projects proposals that contribute to beneficial general intelligence. There are a lot of details that we're still working out, so including the theme, but we're going to keep it relatively specific in this first round, and it's going to be just one pool this time. We're thinking about themes like regeneration, climate change solutions, or safety and ethics tooling, or collaborative technology, so quite tightly defined this first time. Hopefully, as time goes on, we're hoping to attract more funding, and we would really like to do more pools and potentially some pools that are a bit softer and not so technical, so that there can be other more community-driven types of projects that are aimed not just at AI tooling, but that's a bit further down the line. We're going to open for submissions on February the 10th. And the submission period we expect is going to be just 1 week this time. But as I said, some of the details are still being defined, as is the total grant fund. But we expect that it might be between about $200,000 to $500,000 with a max cap per proposal, because we're hoping to get a lot of different proposals. They don't have to be huge proposals. They can be small ones as well. And we just like to let 1,000 flowers bloom, as I think Jan likes to say. And so the grant round is, we'd like to contextualize it in the BGI 25 event as well. So we're hoping to integrate the round and the results and the projects with what we're doing with the event itself. We hope that by then we will have some winners that we'll be able to announce at the event, and we'll be able to get a lot of attention onto the projects, I hope, and be able to grow community around BGI NEXUS, and have somewhere concrete to point people and showcase what we're doing. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm really looking forward to working with Deep Funding, and deeply appreciative of the time and energy of all the people who are involved. Does anyone have any questions? Do we have time for questions? I forgot what the length of the session is today.
Yes, no worries. We have time, Esther. And we have Ubio.
Okay, great.
Okay, yeah. I have other questions, but I just want to take this. Maybe it's in someone's mind as well. The way the deep funding portal works is we always open the portal before submission. Is that going to be the case? I think in the last round, before we had the submissions opened, the application was actually open already. People could actually start filling in things, reading up stuff, just going through, even when the submission period is not actually open yet. Is that going to still be the case, or is it going to be different here?
May I, Esther?
Yeah, go ahead, Rafael.
Okay, yeah. No, good question, Nubio. initially we did this because we had a new platform, right? We were migrating from Sway platform to Deep Funding platform. As we are thinking now, we are opening already for submission in this sense. Again, this step or this schedule, it's being discussed at this point. We have some topics to be considered and decisions to be made, but we are not seeing this preparation phase before the real submission. But open to someone that disagrees and can give good reasons for it, as always.
Rubio, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Ayo,
Thank you.
please go ahead.
All right, thank you. I thought Kenneth's hands were up for mine. Thank you. Yeah, so I can see here that some things are still to be decided, like the total grant fund. So this may make my question a bit mute or necessary. But so I'm thinking that obviously there's a fourth bullet point that has the question mark. That is to say, there could be one more thing introduced into what the theme of the round would be, right? And if the total grant fund, for example, were to be $500,000, and you have proposals, assuming that proposals cut across boards, across the four topics or areas, would it not be counterproductive if we were to fund a fund two projects around the same matter, around the same topic? I mean, it just looks like the maximum cap is 50,000, right? If total grant fund stays at 200, then it could just be like, okay, probably at the end of the day, we might be picking one project around one topic, right? But now that it could be 10 projects, would it not negate? I mean, I don't know if you get my question. How do you pick?
I should be clear that we're only going to pick one theme. Sorry, it was a bit unclear in the slide, but we're just going to pick one of those for this time, because if we do too many, we're just doing one pool. There's no multiple pools, so it will just be either regeneration and climate change, or safety and ethics tooling, or collaborative technologies, or perhaps something else. But we're inclining towards just one, so that it's not too broad specifically, so that we keep it quite simple this time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, great. Kenneth, please go ahead.
Hey, it's good to see everyone again. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Hey, man.
Good to see you back.
Thank you very much. I even shaved. Still need a haircut, though. I've been cutting my own, and it's a bit diagonal. It's kind of hard to see back there. So the question I have has to do with developing how much is practical development of BGI based on the available tool set from SingularityNET. And for example, if it was chosen regeneration and climate change solutions, how much of that should be a model, a predictive model versus BGI? What is the mix and proportion? What should we focus on in that kind of competition?
I think I understand your question, but let me just check. Are you asking how much it should refer to the existing SingularityNET tech stack, and how much that will impact the likely success of the project?
Yeah, my apology for not describing it clearly. Since this is BGI funding to contribute to beneficial general intelligence, should we focus more on predictive model building, or focused entirely on, say, development of BGI using the tools I'm only familiar with at this point, which are SingularityNETs?
If I could take a second to answer, the BGI NEXUS was really born out of the BGI 24 event last year, where it became clear that there are a plethora, there are so many people that are looking at this topic, right, from multiple angles, futurists, neuroscientists, all over the place. SingularityNet's just one of many. And the BGI NEXUS, while being incubated by SingularityNet, is looking to be a gathering place for all the beneficial AI projects to come together under as a neutral third party resource donation allocation system. So the goal here right now is to, as it says, a grant round for AI projects. So if there's an AI system that's beneficial and fits within whichever theme becomes apparent, that's really what we're looking for. We want to demonstrate people and teams and ideas that are showing how AI can be used beneficially in the world, rather than some of these other use cases that we're seeing, harmful or not so thoughtful AI use cases. So really just AI projects fitting within the idea of beneficial and fitting into the theme, the topic here is the most critical criteria.
Thank you very much, Ailey.
Right, Judith, please go ahead.
Hi, Esther. Hi, Haley. Hi, Lilu. You mentioned that you're still picking the topic. Is there any way for the community to get involved in the decision of which topic it's going to be, or is this basically going to be decided by the team?
I think it would be amazing to hear the Deep Fund community's input and opinion on this theme. We're happy to provide some of the criteria that we're looking at. Ultimately, we'll end up deciding it in collaboration with the foundation and the decentralization wallet who are providing the funding. But we do want to hear, you all are the experts on funding rounds and how to structure a question, a request, so that it brings forth the highest quality and most beneficial topics. So we would absolutely love to hear the thoughts and ideas that the community has.
Okay, and then I assume once the topic gets picked and the others are not picked, I'm assuming there will be more BGI NEXUS funding rounds, possibly. That's the plan, right? So it'll be one topic to start with, but it doesn't mean that the others don't get any attention. Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
We're thinking of this sort of in terms like Deep Fund's own test round, right? So as a test round, we want to keep things narrow and focused and get a few very high quality proposals that have real demonstrable impact towards beneficial AI, beneficial AGI.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Rafael, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, that's the type of thing that I was talking, just getting something before here. You see, it's BGI NEXUS that is taking some decisions here, and that's the way we foresee partnerships happening. So we can have businesses getting to us and say, hey, we want to use your infrastructure, but we are going to give the guardrails, right? So, okay, so you can come from here to here. This is what we can deliver, but in the middle, you can decide. We can also advise, of course, with our expertise and provide services to them, which is, for instance, a possibility here. We discussed it in a previous call. For instance, who is going to do the marketing part? SNET has a market team. We have our marketing circle. So who would be both, or potentially bringing some complexity into it, or should we, as a circle, do? If so, who should be funding this? It's important to say as well that this round here is funded by BGI NEXUS, right? As it would be with another partner. So who will pay for these hours of our marketing circle? Who will pay for the expert reviewers to review the process? Are you bringing in, which is going to happen because they have the experts in BGI, right? The concepts and etc. So the way we are designing, it will require them to be part of it as well. So they bring experts, but the technical ones, we are not a technical company. So let's use the expert reviewers, the technical expert reviewers in AI, experts in AI domains from Deep Funding. So all of these changes and differences made us go this step forward in a new format. That's why it's a new format here. Going beyond a bit, one thing that is important to say as well, and that it is a decision already. You are normally used to propose 2 or 3 types of technical new services, right? It's a service, it's a solution that consumes services from our marketplace, or a service that will be onboarded on the marketplace, or a service that already exists and you onboard in the marketplace. Here, we are talking about BGI solutions. We are not talking about services that has to be onboarded on our marketplace, decentralized marketplace. So it's another huge difference from what we normally do. And it was a decision from the BGI NEXUS team to say, yes, no, any solution that has as scope the BGI concept will be suitable to propose. Sometimes this also make a difference while you are thinking and ideating and bringing your ideas in to submit, okay? And yes, I think I already said that it's not the Deep Funding Fund which is funding this, right? Which is also important to highlight, is the third party.
I should probably add as well that we're thinking of moving to a different kind of decision-making method at the end of the submission process. So the final decision, which you normally do through a vote, a crypto vote using your wallets, because much of the BGI community is non-crypto, we're moving away from the pure crypto vote because it would be quite a big blocker, I think, for some people to have to create a wallet. And even if we allowed people to vote just with their wallets and not with their tokens, I still think that would be quite a big barrier to some people. So we're still thinking carefully about how to make a decision process that is collective decision making and fair and inclusive, and that will serve the community. But again, this is a test round, so we're testing decision-making methods, and we'll keep you updated about those developments before the round starts.
All right, thank you, Esther. You actually stole my question. Really good. And so on that take, and just a question following up on that. So you'd like to have the BGI community basically having a saying in the process. Do you have a way to define who is the BGI community?
We were thinking of approaching people who expressed interest during the BGI event and who registered for the BGI event last year. So we'll start with them and possibly our extended network for people who might be interested in this sort of thing. So where other possible communities that we might reach through our network could be the Earthwise community and people that we know through our connections through BGI. As you may have seen, I don't know, Smitsman helped to create the BGI Constitution last year, and so I'm just using that as an example of possible communities who might be interested in joining and who might express this sort of interest. But first, our core approach is via the people who were at the event last year who registered.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and it's gonna be, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to choose those communities and tap into your already existing community. And that's always the challenging for voting is like, who's the community who is going to be part of the decision and is well informed to do so. But we have Tommy with his hand up. Please, Tommy, go ahead.
Hey, quick question. And I did hear you say that many of them are non-crypto, the people from BGI, but could we, and maybe this is something for the RFP, but could we issue a specific NFT and put it, send it to them and use that for the voting? So it's, you know, one NFT, one vote. Would that be a possible solution?
They still have to have a wallet, don't they, for an NFT?
That is true, and that may be a way of using onboarding to bring them into crypto and a little closer to the SNET community.
We were certainly thinking about different uses for NFTs during our planning phase, but that wasn't something that I thought about just yet. I think we'd have to investigate a little bit about how off-putting would it really be for somebody to use a wallet. We're thinking about other things as well, like live voting, or what else have we been thinking about? Non-crypto voting platforms as well. There are some secure solutions or something approaching secure solutions for that sort of thing as well. So it's about balancing lots of different criteria like privacy and barriers to crypto and so on. So yeah, there's a lot to consider, but that's an interesting concept, and we can certainly throw that in the mix there while we're planning.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So thank you so much, Esther. Thank you, Ailey. Thank you, Lilu, for the presentation and for the work you're doing. And definitely excited to see the final details and to see this round, this lightning round, lightning for sure, going on. And hopefully we can get a lot of great BGI proposals. And I think now, to wrap it up, we have Jan with some deep funding updates. Jan, I know you've been waiting for a while.
I thought you forgot me, Rafael.
No, this time we turned the agenda around.
Just thought I'm speaking long, then everybody can just go away.
No, that's not the case. It's not the case. Just to, I don't know. Sometimes you'll be the first, sometimes you'll be the last. I don't know. You're here, so that's what matters.
Keep it exciting. Yeah, great. Maybe we should stop sharing so we can see each other. Yeah, I have one boring update. I'll start with that one. The other maybe slightly less boring. The boring one is about legal stuff, being KYC. So mainly behind the scenes, mainly between me and the legal team, have been a lot of discussions about KYC requirements. At some point, it looked like we would need to ask a lot of people for KYC, including circle members, at least above a certain threshold. And there's KYC and KYB, and we had some kind of framework in mind. The good news is that we managed to push back on that a little bit. And the outcome, the resolution that we reached right now is that we will only do KYC for projects, not for circle members, and only when the total amount of the project is above 100K. So that leaves us with just a handful of projects. I haven't counted them over the past time and also in the future. And that also takes the pressure off a little bit. We had some ideas in mind of doing a kind of zero knowledge proof KYC system to protect the identities also of our circle members. We might still do that, even though it's for a smaller subset of projects. But the urgency is off a little bit, I would say. So yeah, from this point on, we'll start using first a manual tool for that, because like I said, we still have a number of contracts of Deep Funding Round 4 needing to be signed. Because there were some legal issues there, and we want to make sure that it's completely correct. No project was impacted by that, by the way, but it needs to be done now. So we'll continue on that road. We'll have a few of them that can do KYC. They can choose if they want to do KYC or KYB. We had some experience that KYB is really a hurdle. You get much more complex questions to the teams whether they want to go for KYC or KYB. And they may have their own reasons for doing one or the other. So that's on the KYC part. It was quite exciting, but I think we have a good and very reasonable outcome that hopefully everybody can live with. Then the other remark is about the RFP process. The good news here is that I expect, so it's similar to the BGI round, the reviewing and assessment of the SingularityNET RFPs is done by SingularityNET experts because, well, basically they're the only ones who can have a really in-depth opinion about a lot of stuff that is directly related to also our tech stack. So I'm not in charge of that process. I keep in touch with that process, but I'm not in charge of it. We do expect the results to be announced somewhere next week. There was a mail sent out yesterday. That was for some people a little bit unfortunate. It was supposed to go to only the proposers, but it went to all people that were registered on our newsletters and marked. I would like to be. I'm interested in RFP news. So sorry for that. We'll improve next time. And yeah, for the rest, the only thing I would like to say more about is that what I hear from the internal teams, without going into any details, we're very happy with the results. We're very happy. And in some cases, we have a luxury problem. There are more good proposals that we would like to fund than the amount of money that we awarded. Maybe not in all, maybe not in all RFPs. Maybe some will not completely deplete the available amount. We'll also find a solution for the ones that we feel should be funded but can't, are just not, are just the runners-up, basically. But all of that will be communicated next week. And yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy with such good results. And I also think it brings in a whole new audience of people to our ecosystem. Maybe one more thing that pops up in my mind where we're talking about the BGI round. We're trying, so we're working on single sign-on on the websites. Oh, Rafael Cardoso talked about the community website, how great it is. It's great, but we're also doing a redesign. It's a half a year old, and we're already doing a redesign because we're evolving so quickly. There are many new things. We need a hackathon section there. We want to have work groups there, all things that we didn't think about when we created the original design. And yeah, overall, there's always room for improvement. So not sure when that will happen in the coming weeks, maybe months. Let's hope for weeks. You should be able to see something of that. Part of this single sign-on also includes a deep funding version of Mattermost. At least that's what we're aiming for. We're trying hard to get that done before the BGI round, but it's totally unpredictable what we will encounter. There are some technical things we need to sort out. So can't make any promise there. Might also take a couple of weeks longer or even after the BGI round has finished. I don't know. But we're making the effort. The way it would work is that anybody that will log on or will register on our website will also have access with the same login to a dedicated Mattermost server. So not the server that you're used to, but a dedicated environment. And that server will have two, well, teams, they call it. One will be BGI and one will be deep funding. Maybe there will be more in the future, I don't know. So you can easily switch between environments, but both environments are available. And that also basically means right now our current Mattermost world environment is invite only. We want to keep a little bit of track who we are, that we know the people that we invite. So, for instance, all awarded team members are invited there for communication's sake, but we don't invite all the proposers because they could be anybody. In the new system, that would change a little bit. We would have an environment where everybody that registers will be able to join that Mattermost space. And it's another experiment. We'll see how that goes. We're hoping for not too many trolls and issues there. If that does happen, we'll probably kick them out. We'll find some people, hopefully, willing to assist with that. And if it's 90% trolls and 10% real people, we'll just shut it down again. So I hope it will be a low barrier environment where we can have all kinds of interesting discussions with all kinds of people. So also if we have a hackathon, or even if we sponsor a hackathon and people are interested in our ecosystem, they can just register on Deep Funding and start having conversations that are a little bit more organized and structured than the ones that we currently have, for instance, on Telegram. That's it for now, I would say. Any questions, remarks? Just want to say big compliments to the BGI team. You're doing great. It's wonderful. I'm sitting here totally relaxed and love how to see that develops. So great work, all of you.
I do have a quick question, Jan. Is the old Mattermost still being kept, or are we going to migrate all to the new one?
No, I think we will keep the old one, at least for now. I haven't thought that through. Maybe in a year we'll figure out that we'll use one of the two, and which one, I don't know. Or maybe we'll figure out that it's actually useful to have two. So what is not visible for most people here is we already have two in SingularityNET. There's one Mattermost environment that's only accessible for people with a SingularityNET email address. And there's one that we call World, which is for anybody who is invited. We are pretty liberal with that, but still a little bit restrictive. That works well also because it's on the same server, so it's easy for us internally to switch between these two environments. On that new, that will be a little bit different because you would have two different logins in two environments. However, there are also technical possibilities to bridge. So we can have certain groups from the public version and make them visible on the internal version, so that the people who are internal would still be able to view, but also react on some of the groups on the public version. So that could be a solution there, but we'll figure that out as we go along.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, any remarks?
If I may, I would like to congratulate again the event circle for the number of attendants in town halls, all hands. Today I saw we reached 32, perhaps more, but perhaps I lost. But it's very good to see how steady and growing these numbers are. And also thank you to all of you that are part of this and making it happen. Your commitment to our mission and being here 1.5 hours hearing us. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, big thank you for the community, and it's great to have you here and to be able to chat with you and sometimes see some faces. Sometimes.
This is also interesting because I am sorry, I see more faces than before. Before we would have 20 people and 3 or 4 cameras only, and now we have plenty of faces here, which is very nice as well. Very well remarked.
And
Cardoso.
beautiful faces. Just to incentivize people to show the
Are you asking me for closing my camera to keep only
No.
the good ones? Okay, yeah, thank you. I got the hint. Thank you.
Abdul Rahman, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, everybody in the town hall. I appreciate the collaboration was very interesting. I want to maintain my promise to be always available and it can always 2025. And I think I keep the promise to attend the second one. Moving forward, I want to ask a question about the community of RSP. Is it allowed, just like an individual like this, to be present in two teams opposing to the RFP?
Hey, Abdul, can you just repeat the last part? I heard, is it allowed for, and
Like
then
in the same, is it allowed, like, let me use myself as an example. Like probably a team is proposing for the community of, and another team is proposing for the same for community of with different area of interest. Is it allowed that I, as a team, like, I can be part of the whole team, and the individual can be part of the whole team?
okay. I'm not sure if I understand, but I'll try to say something, and then if somebody understood, please help. And sorry, Abdul. Yeah, I mean, as a community hub, you can apply for like any topic of your interest, but also you can apply for a region, a language, whatever you feel is proper. In terms of team, one of the requirements we have is just to try to have a team of 3 people. Also, for imagine that something happens to one of you, or one of you wants to leave, or something like that. Then I think it's important to have these members so that you can share the knowledge and keep the operations running, even if someone wants to leave at some point. Io, maybe you have something to say. You understood the question better?
Yeah, I think not sure, but I think it was asking if he can be a lead for a team and also be part of another team that is proposing similar um, com communities. I think that's the question.
That's the question.
All right. That's a good question, to be honest with you, in the sense that we didn't really thought about that yet, to be honest with you. That's gonna something that we're gonna probably consider in the selection process. But yeah, I would say Io has something to say. Io, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Rafael. So we will be contacting the proposers, and there will be conversations and discussions that are beyond just the proposer. It may even require some tweak, some collaborations, some adjustments that will be done together with the team. So in that regard, we don't have a hard no to your question, right? You guys can propose how you want to propose. Each proposal has to be taken based on its merits, and then conversations go forward then. Yeah.
Yes, and I would say, just to your point, I think initially just thinking out loud, but we would have to discuss this as a team, there shouldn't be a problem in the sense that if you're participating in 2 different communities, you actually have to build 2 different communities, have the 2 different events, and probably focus around different topics. So I think that shouldn't be a problem. Even because at some point, nothing. We don't really want to be like overseeing and stopping people from hiring people just because they are in another community up. I don't know. Imagine you want to have a team with 5 or 7 people. If you want to have someone else from another community up, that shouldn't be a problem. Maybe if it's the same team for 3 or 4 community apps, then that could start being a problem. But that's something we'll discuss directly with you guys. But for a single person, I think in principle it shouldn't be a problem, and you can participate in both.
All right.
And
Thank you very much.
no worries. Thank you, and thank you for the patience as well. I know it can be frustrating when you're trying to to speak and people are not understanding. So thank you. Well, everyone, unless has some final words, anything you want to say before we end up the call? I guess the silence means no. So thank you, everyone, for being with us in this Thursday, in this 1 hour and a half. I hope you got as excited about these topics today as I was. And of course, I hope to see you again in the Open All Ends next week, where we are going to discuss interesting topics about deep funding payment structure. Maybe sounds a bit boring, but is important for governance. So love to see you there for sure. Wednesday, 2 p.m. UTC. And for now, thank you so much to everyone presenting, everyone watching, and have a great week. Bye bye, everyone.